Hey guys, John here. I just wanted to do a quick little video as a follow-up to a blog that I wrote I guess it must have been 2-3 months ago now, about just how to interact with blind people. I'm getting a lot of comments from friends and stuff like that, just sort of curious about blindness and well, the best ways to interact and stuff like that. So I figured I would take that blog and sort of elaborate on a few things. And so I put like 8 or 10 little pointers there at the end. And so I'll just kind of go over those briefly here. I've got folks from all over the world who are connected with me here on Facebook, just by virtue of where we've lived and who we've worked with. So hopefully this can be a way for people not just in the U.S. or here in our country, but in other places too, to sort of figure some stuff out. So the first thing, that if you're going to interact with blind people, visually impaired, tell, don't show. All right, so pointing to things, giving direction with your hand, or pointing with your lips, or pointing with your head, or pointing with your hands. That's not going to really help. It's not bad at all to comment on the beautiful sunset or beautiful building or whatever. But if you show, like if you point to that building, or you try to show, like, oh wow, this is a really cool picture. Isn't this a cute picture of my grandchild or whatever? It's really not that cute when you can't see it. So anyway, just bear that in mind. It's just, we just need words. We need vocabulary. We need sounds. But it's just the eyes that don't work. So if you can remember that, the rest of our bodies work, but it's just the eyes. All right. The second thing here is, I'm reading a little Braille thing here. It's taking me a bit, but don't congratulate a blind person for doing something that anybody should be able to do. For example, I'm walking up a flight of stairs, and you say, "Oh wow, you handled those stairs like a pro." Well, I imagine so, seeing that I walk upstairs every single day of my life. So yeah, I mean that's kind of patronizing, and it makes you feel sort of not great. That's not what you're trying to accomplish with that compliment, I know. So just avoid that. It's kind of like me saying, "Oh wow, good job, you ate that spaghetti without spilling the sauce all over your body. Good job. Your hand-eye coordination works great. Motor skills are going well." No, that's really not what you're after. So just avoid that. I know it might be surprising to see a blind person be independent, but just avoid those sort of comments. The third thing here is talk to us. Talk to us when you're walking with us. That's really important, because we're constantly using the sound clues and our surroundings as clues as we're walking. And if a person is walking with us, the more that conversation can keep going, the easier that it is going to be for us to sort of follow what's going on. Because when I'm alone, I'm listening to cars, I'm listening to I'm listening to cars. I'm listening to where cars are stopping. I'm going to be hearing conversations of people. Like if I'm getting really close to someone and I can hear a car, there's probably means I'm getting closer to the road. Someone's talking to somebody in the road. So just keep that conversation going. And if the blind person isn't that friendly, just cut him some slack, or cut her some slack, and just endure with them, just so they can know where you're going. So none of this like silent stuff. That's not advantageous for us at all. The fourth thing here. Don't talk for the blind person. Like if you're with a blind person and somebody else asks them a question, don't speak for them. Our minds work, our mouths work, our ears work, and it makes you feel pretty worthless and invisible when that happens. It's probably my number one pet peeve of all of these. I've had people do that to me, and it's extremely frustrating. I become pretty angry when that happens. And so do your best. And sometimes waitresses, if you're working in a kind of public service sort of area, sometimes waitresses and waiters do this. I've been with people, and everybody is ordering, and they're like, "Oh, what will he be having?" I'm like, "Oh, well, thank you for asking my my parents or my wife or my friend what I want. No, that's not going to fly. So just do your best to avoid that. And the next one, don't touch me. Basically is what I'm trying to say. There's no reason for you to touch the blind person really ever, unless their life is in danger or something like that. I mean, that's not helpful when you're trying to like sort of sort your way around and figure out where stuff is. Just tell them. And if a blind person really needs your help, they'll ask that, and they'll get your arm, or they'll touch your back or something like that. But don't just go around touching people. I've had people here in this country try to pick me up. They try to pick me up from like one step to the next. There's like one step. I'm like, no, really, you're not going to carry me, dude. I'm not the distance runner skinny guy that I used to be. Man, I weigh like 150, 160 pounds. That's gonna hurt your back. But like, yeah, that happens, and that's the most awkward thing ever. So just avoid touching people and wait for their cue. Yeah, another one that's pretty big is let us help with things around the house, or maybe you're with a group of people and there's Christmas decorations going up, or there's cleaning that needs to be done. Don't just always try to do stuff for the blind person. This just kind of feeds the whole like blind people are never going to be independent sort of thing. The more that you do that, and sometimes you do need to help us, but more often than not, we're very capable and we're pretty independent, especially if we've had the right training and the right upbringing to give us those skills. But don't just do stuff for the blind person. It's very liberating and exciting even to be able to join in and do those things. So that's another one that kind of stands out, because I do often get taken care of when I totally don't need to be. So anyway, that's one. I think we're at like 5, 6, 7. I kind of lost count here. I didn't number my list, but identify yourself. I'm pretty good with voices, but I'm not God, and I don't like know instantly like, oh wow, this is Vanessa from 4 years ago when we met at that one conference or whatever. No, that's not going to happen. I mean, and so you need to identify yourself. You don't need to speak slower. You don't need to speak like we have some mental disability, because oftentimes we don't. You just need to identify yourself. And so that's just very helpful. And some people have even asked, what do you do with a handshake? If you could just extend your hand and say, don't just extend your hand and wait. You're going to be waiting a while. Okay, so you got just extend your hand and say something like, let me shake your hand. May I shake your hand? And then that gives us a clue. Oh, there's a hand there. And oftentimes I've heard that sighted people feel embarrassed, like, oh, well, I'm embarrassed. I'm not sure why you're that embarrassed, because I didn't see your hand in the first place, and that's sort of something weird going on. No reason to be embarrassed. Just extend your hand. And if you're with a blind person, this just happened the other day with a friend of mine here. Somebody was trying to extend their hand, and I was extending my hand. I didn't know exactly where they were. And he wasn't sure, as a friend, should he take my hand and put it near the other person's hands? No, you shouldn't. You don't really need to touch our hands and do that. It is up to the person who's shaking the hand to try to figure that out. And the worst case scenario is we won't ever meet hands, and that's not the end of the world. That's kind of goes back to the don't touch thing. But anyway, yeah, just if that is happening, just tell your blind friend, like, hey, they're trying to shake your hand. They're a little bit to the right, a little bit to the left. That's not the end of the world. That's fine. It's better than just sitting there and waiting forever and making the awkward moment go on for all eternity. All right, the next thing... yeah, the next thing is pretty important. We're more than blind. All right, that's not the... I'm very happy, very open to talk about my blindness. That's hence the video here. But that's not the only thing, or even the most important thing about our lives. And so I often get in the situation, especially when I first meet people, they want to like talk about my blindness like it's like the coolest thing ever. Like, oh my gosh, what do you see? How much do you see? When did this happen? How did it happen? Do you see my hands now? Do you see my hands now? Do you see my hands now? I'm like, oh my word, this is like torture. Okay, so back off on that. And like I said, I'm open to talk about it, but you don't want that to dominate your conversation, because that's not the most important thing about the person that you're talking to who's blind. Okay, so just do your best on that. If, like I said, I'm open to talk about it, but it's kind of like, me walking up to you and like, oh, you had cancer before? What kind of cancer? Where was it? Was it an internal organ? Or yeah, not so much. Okay, so yeah, so that's so that's the next thing on my list. Yeah, yeah. This one's kind of important. I was going to hesitate on even bringing it up, but one thing is just don't move our stuff. Okay, like if we have stuff like positioned a certain way on our table at home, our stuff might look a little bit messy to you, but I'm dead serious. I can promise you that if you move one thing of mine, I'm going to know about it, and then I'm not going to know where that is. It might be a mess to you, but it's totally not a mess to me, and I know exactly where it is, and the more you move my stuff, the less of a friend that I'm going to be with you. I'm kind of exaggerating, I'm joking, but yeah, seriously, that's not a cool thing. I used to have this relative. He used to come over to our house around Christmas time, and he would change all the settings on my computer. Yeah, that was brilliant. Okay, so avoid doing stuff like that. Yeah, and then I guess lastly, just on my list here is I get this comment a lot. You don't look blind, or you don't seem blind, as if, oh, what the heck does that mean? Like, what does blind seem like? Does it seem like somebody like twists their eyes everywhere? Does it seem like somebody that's just sitting down and just being passed by? Because most of the blind people that I've met are not like that at all, and most of the blind people I've met are pretty independent, and they're just going for it in life. And so just avoid comments like that. That just comes off as just very, it just comes off as stupid and ignorant. And so you're just going to have to avoid, you don't look blind, because you're not even sure what you mean by that. And so let's just like chill on that one. So there's some do's and don'ts. I mean, if some of these things can be done and done well, then it will just be a lot easier for your relationship with the blind. If you have any questions or comments or whatever, you can fire them away here in the comment section. But I hope that's a little bit helpful. I know there's not like a ton of blind people in the world, but when you do meet a blind person, you have a friend that's blind, it's for me, my world's not that different from yours, really. I mean, I just can't see. But yeah, that's all I got to say. So I hope that was helpful. If not, lots of other crap to read here on Facebook. All right, talk to you guys later.